Hi everybody. So in this session we are going to discuss about the unit 14 from the human resource management. This talks about mentoring and performance coaching. So that objectives and the introduction and conditions for employee development and the objectives of performance coaching and the conditions for effective coaching and the process of coaching, making coaching effective, the process of mentoring. So these are all the items we are going to discuss in this unit. Let me explain one by one. That objectives of this unit, we must identify that why that coaching and mentoring is important, what is the necessity, and list that goals of performance coaching and mentoring, and describe the process of coaching and mentoring, highlight the process of implementing them in an organization. These are the main objectives of that study and this unit. The conditions for employee development. The individual should be interested in developing himself because each and every individual in the organization should think about their development, because if not thinking about their development, how can they develop the organization and how can they attain that objectives of the organization? That is $1,000,000 question nowadays. So we must see that interest level of the particular employee in a very deep manner. If the employee is not satisfied himself or herself, they must be satisfied into the next level. And such perceptions only show biased, and no individual wants to stagnate in that particular place. Only others, because of their expectations and their limited perspectives, brand people as stagnating. This may be because of the difference between the observer's interest in the employee's development in one direction being different from the employee's own desire to learn something else. And the objectives of performance coaching. The coaching aims at developing employees in an organization by the following ways: helping them to realize their potential as a managers, helping them to understand themselves, their strengths and weaknesses, and providing them the opportunity to acquire more insight into their behavior and analyze the dynamics of such behavior, and helping them to have a better understanding of the environment, increasing their personal and interpersonal effectiveness by giving them feedback about their behavior and assisting them in analyzing their interpersonal competence, encouraging them to set the goals for further future improvements, encourage that employees to generate that alternatives for dealing with various problems, and provide them that empathical atmosphere for sharing and discussing tensions, conflicts, concerns, and problems, helping them to develop that various actions for further development, helping them to review in a non-threatening way their progress in achieving various objectives, strengthening the dyadic relationship between the employee and his boss. So these are the objectives of effective coaching and mentoring. The conditions for effective coaching. The following conditions are necessary for coaching to be effective: the general climate of openness and mutuality, general helpful and empathetic attitude of the management, and uninhibited participation by the subordinates in the review process, and dialogical relationship in goal setting and performance reviews, focus on that work-oriented behavior, avoidance of discussions of salary and other rewards. So these are the conditions for effective coaching and the learning methods. So the following conditions are necessary for coaching to be effective more. The process of coaching. The first process is communication, and second one is listening, and third one is asking questions and responding, and fourth one is questions that do not help, particularly the critical questions, testing questions, reasoning questions, trusting questions, empathetical questions, open questions, responding to the questions. So these are all the process of coaching. See that the communication and the listening, right? these things. The communication means that exchanging of ideas, views, expectations, opinion from one person to another person. Listening, it is a kind of skill set. We must listen carefully what the sender is delivering the concept to us, to the group, or else the mass audience in the particular group, and ask the questions, getting their responses quickly. And the questions that do not help, that are critical evaluations, testing questions, reasoning questions, trusting questions, empathetical questions, and open-ended questions, and responding to that the questions in all the levels, right? These are all the process of coaching. A coach responds, particularly in the unhelpful and effective and helpful method. Unhelpful method alternating, but the effective and helpful method feeling empathetical. And the continuous stress on conformity, but here leveling that conformity from that particular thing. And here the passive listening, but here identifying the feelings and emotions. But in the unhelpful situations, always thinking about the critical, but that effective, helpful making, always analyzing and recognizing about that particular content. And pointing that inconsistencies, here the committing support. And directing, it's unhelpful situations, but in here reflecting the effective and helpful situations here. And directive and reflecting the people. Here threatening, but the effective thing is called closing. And giving no options, but here effective and helpful means making that summarizing all those things. And here that unhelpful means pointing out only one acceptable way, but here the effective and helpful way always say about that conclusion or else concluding the content of the coach responses. And according to that, when 1976 has suggested that the following set of images of people is essential for an effective helping process. So the people are responsible and capable of making their own choices and decisions. People are controlled to a certain extent by their environment, but they are able to direct their lives more than they realize. They always have choices and freedom along with responsibilities, even if they have restricted options due to environmental variables or inherited or biological or personality predispositions. Behaviors are purpose-driven, goal-directed. People are continuously striving towards meeting their own needs, ranging from various basic psychological needs to abstract self-actualization ones, fulfilling their physiological and psychological aesthetic needs. And people want to feel good about themselves and continuously need positive confirmation of their own self-worth from significant persons. And people are capable of learning new behaviors and unlearning existing ones, and they are subject to environmental and internal consequences of their behavior, which in turn serve as reinforcement. They strive for reinforcement, they are meaningful and concurrent with their personal values and belief system. So the people's personal problems may arise from unfinished business because unresolved conflict. But here, everything is useful and making that meaningful and purposive record in a very good manner. So making coaching effective. Can you make that coaching very effective? In performance coaching formally organized by the organization, the employee may not ask for coaching, but his superior may organize coaching interviews as an organizational requirement. Some employees are so loyal and some superiors so proactive, but there is a danger of employees becoming totally dependent on the coach. And the employee must understand the purpose of coaching. If he doesn't understand or has wrong expectations, he may not receive whatever is said to him in the proper perspective. And how can you make that coaching effective? Argument should be minimized. Don't argue with the people. One argument is sufficient to make both parties defensive. So the coach should accept everything the employee says and try to build it on it. Acceptance is the best way of bringing about self-realization in the person. So you must always that acceptance give that acceptance note in during that particular training. And the process of mentoring. The word mentor comes from the Greek story about who wandering the world seeking adventures, and you could say personal development and development. before going on his 10-year voyage, that you just see that he left in the sun. What the story tells about, talking about the process of mentoring. How can you give the mentor to the mentees? Must analyze their the problems, difficulties, and then all the things in a very good level. This relationship and the name of the older man who assisted the younger man in developing himself become a model for what is now known as mentoring. So this is the process of mentoring. So mentoring is a process where a person, the mentor, provides support, training, and guidance to a less experienced, usually younger person. The mentee and mentee are protect. Some benefits of mentoring are that it enhances the productivity and teamwork, it encourages continued learning, it improves the self-esteem of the protege, and it improves the chances of success in the protege endeavors. So although a young person during their professional journey unknowingly research and discover appropriate mentors, organizations are increasingly paying attention to this phenomenon. Generally, more promising young managers are given mentoring experiences. Thank you. So, what we have discussed in this part, the first thing is objectives, and second talks about the conditions for employee development, and third one is concentrating on the objectives of performance coaching, and next one is conditions for effective coaching, and next one is process of coaching, and next making coaching effective, and last one is the process of mentoring. So these are all the aspects we discussed in that the mentoring and performance coaching method in a very good manner, right? Thank you.